Recording in progress.
Welcome in to the October 25th episode of Betting the Pitch with your host, _G Warner. I'm going through the top 5 European soccer leagues, all live, though you might get this recording in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube at _G Warner, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts under Betting the Pitch. But we're going through the top 5 European soccer leagues. We're 6-2, our last 8 best bets. I'm still working my way through Champions League, so pending on some grading there, and Europa League 2 as well from yesterday. But I try to get through everything I can. We did miss one Serie A match that's already kicked off, but we will get through hopefully everything else for the entire weekend card across the English Premier League, Spanish La Liga, Italy, Serie A, German Bundesliga, and Ligue in France. And if you are not following me, please do so at _G Warner across all platforms. I'm going to start and make sure I tweet this out so everyone knows we're live. If you have any questions or want me to drill down a little bit deeper on a certain match, please say so. That probably should be good now. So I guess we've given it a minute for people to kind of climb in, and anyone who's willing or joins midway, I'm happy to have you. We'll start in the English Premier League because that is where the money is. We do have a Friday match on this card, first Friday match that I can remember this entire season, but I could be a little bit off on that one potentially. But we'll start with Leicester City. They are a newly promoted side, despite having a lot of fanfare from winning the Premier League title many years ago. It feels like now, but not in the too distant past. And they are a quarter goal underdog right now to Nottingham Forest. Over under is 2.5 in this one. A lot of juice on under, a lot of juice on Leicester City. So I'm very interested in Leicester City in this one, being that they are off 2 straight consecutive victories. One after falling behind 2-1. Southampton took a red card at home even. And then Leicester City got an equalizer and then won pretty much at the death really late in stoppage time, which was great for a quarter goal underdog to win that one straight up. I don't know necessarily if that's a great indicator that everything is fixed or Leicester's some great side, but they have come up from the championship. I think they were winners of the championship last season. And then they have Nottingham Forest previous manager as their manager. So that does mean something. Steve Cooper, I feel like, has been a great counterattacking manager for a long time. And he hosts a Nottingham Forest side with probably a lot of revenge. I have seen in the past trickle through to squad players, based on like a rivalry type of or revenge game narrative, but it seemed to have worked in the past for players to reflect the manager who had been in a previous club. So that does matter. Plus Nottingham Forest have scored, or at least have accumulated less than a goal or 1.0 XG or less in 8 of their 9 matches this year, including a cup match, which you could throw that out and still say 7 of 8. There hasn't been a lot of scoring from Nottingham Forest. As a road favorite, that's a big danger zone, especially if 1 goal is their maximum. Then I think we really clearly like Leicester as an under there, under 2.5, but also to the quarter of a goal on a home underdog. If you're only conceding 1 goal, it puts you in a really good position to win the match or at least draw with a single goal. So I'll put Leicester on my list as a quarter goal underdog, also under 2.5. And just a reminder for any of you coming in right now, we'll be putting for the ultimate best bet end of show. I will throw together my favorite best bet or from each of the leagues, and then come up with an ultimate best bet as like the cream of the crop, if you will. Moving to Saturday, we'll start with Aston Villa hosting Bournemouth. There is no early matchup, thank God. But Aston Villa, half a goal favorite right now. All the juice on their side over under is 3, and juice a little bit more to under. Now, Aston Villa coming off what you could say was a dominant Champions League victory at home against Bologna, but Bologna haven't scored yet in Champions League and have really are nowhere near the side they were finishing in the top position or one of the top positions in Italy last year. Aston Villa's schedule gets really tough. This is not an easy one. Bournemouth coming in off of victory at home against Arsenal, though certainly playing 60 minutes with against 10 men certainly helps. But I think Villa, we've seen their offense is pretty sporadic. Didn't start Ollie Watkins midweek. I don't know if that's an injury thing, but he did come in off the bench right after a second goal was scored. Didn't do much offensively, but Aston Villa were more in a protect mode, I think, at that point, up 2-0. But the big question is Aston Villa great at home, don't concede a lot, which does make a half of a goal favorite feel a little bit cheap. But Bournemouth coming off a big win, confidence is certainly there, and they got to rest midweek, which is a big deal. My biggest interest in this one, I think, is to under 3, but I also like Bournemouth getting a half of a goal. It looks like it's going to point towards 3/4 a goal. We'll see, and I'll certainly wait to see that happen. Don't want to lose 3, but juice doesn't look that dangerous at the moment. Brentford then hosts Ipswich. Brentford a 1-goal favorite. All the juice on Ipswich on the road. Over under is 3. Juice really heavily to under. Brentford, their streak of scoring in the first minute ended, but they did take another lead on the road last weekend at Manchester United. We're not able to hold it, and there was some circumstances. I mean, it was against 10 men because Matthias de Ligt was off the pitch with a bloody head at that point. But Ipswich are starting to look like one of those Premier League's promoted sides that are headed back down to Championship. They didn't spend a ton of money on their club. Maybe we see some January transfer signings, but January window signings, but unfortunately that's a long way away. And I think Brentford, they're not that great offensively, so that makes me always interested in seeing a full goal of insurance against them. But I think I'm more interested in under 3 in this one than the side +1. A little less juice on under 3. And of course, if Ipswich lose 2-0, you would lose the side and win the totals. So I'm interested certainly in the under there. Just not sure Liam Delap is able to find a goal or create one and score one all himself. Move next to Manchester City hosting Southampton, coming off their own Champions League match midweek. They are a 2.5 goal favorite, a little bit more juice. Over under is 3 3/4, juice more to over. Southampton have looked, I think, better after starting the year off in like really shaky, playing out of the back, turning overs to easy goals type of status, fashion, everything. Unfortunately, that late collapse against Leicester City was not great, especially considering Leicester City is another promoted side. This does not look like a good situation for Southampton. They're certainly going to be playing out of the back because their manager has basically made it clear that they will not stop doing that until he is relieved of his duties. He didn't say that part, but I did. I think Manchester City have not been dominant in any of these matches. I mean, they seem so fortunate to win all the time. And their opponents are really just packing their defenses in and saying, well, Erling Haaland will not be a factor in this one unless you get a kick from the penalty spot. And good luck trying to break us down, though certainly with Phil Foden scoring midweek, maybe that'll change somewhat soon. But I think my biggest interest here is under 3 3/4, which is a gigantic total. And at 4, I'm not sure how I can skip it, even though I don't really want much to do with Southampton, especially away from home with that problematic defensive style. Moving next to Brighton hosting Wolves. Currently Brighton, a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Over under is 3, just a little bit more to over. Wolves have been, they're sitting bottom of the table a lot due to really tough schedule, I think, but really deserved a point against Manchester City and weren't able to hold on. Did cover the spread as a big home underdog and went under, which was good for all those who were on the real_G Warner's game plan bandwagon, all that sort of stuff. We had a really good week last week in the Premier League, and it's been a really great season for the Premier League so far, trying to keep that going. But Brighton, 3/4 goal favorite. I really like them. I feel like they've been playing a lot better than expectations. We're a huge underdog at Newcastle last week and won straight up. I do think that as this number moves towards a full goal of insurance, I get more interested in Wolves. Still a big time believer in Gary O'Neill until he's relieved of that job, which I'm hoping will not come. I think Wolves will eventually come out of 20th and will eventually climb up the table. But I feel like under is probably a good look, though Wolves has certainly had some troubles keeping the ball out of the back of the net. Like the under 3, I think I'll be waiting for Wolves to hit the full goal of insurance, which I think, honestly, I feel like Wolves have the ability to score on Brighton, which does put the total a little bit in jeopardy as a 3, especially with a big underdog scoring potentially on the road. But I think Brighton, I want to back them as an underdog, not as this big of a favorite, especially as it moves towards a full goal of insurance offered to the road team. And the nightcap on Saturday, we have Everton hosting Fulham, currently at Pick'em with a little bit more juice on Fulham away from home. Over under is 2.5, juice a little bit more to over. I don't know necessarily that I agree. Fulham have been playing really, really well to start the Premier League season. Can Raul Jimenez continue his success? I doubt it. Can Adama Traoré continue to miss chances? I think so. And for that reason, Everton, which got a lot of flack for having 2-0 leads and not being able to hold them a lot of the early part of the season, doesn't really bother me. I think I'm interested in playing them as a pick 'em at home and lean to under 2.5 as well, because I just don't think there's going to be a lot of goals in any Sean Dyche match. Moving to Sunday, October 27th, the best day of the year, my birthday. Unfortunately, one more year, getting closer to 40. Yikes. But we'll start with West Ham United, a 1/4 goal underdog at home to Manchester United. Over under is 3, just a little bit more to over, significantly more to over, and all the way to juice to the West Ham underdog, home underdog. I'll say that again. West Ham a quarter goal underdog with all the juice. Over under is 3, more juice to over. Manchester United, I just don't trust them. Really, I've just been playing their unders, not really. And I did play against them last weekend, ended up profitable, but ended up losing the side and winning the total. I think West Ham have shown a lot of issues. They can't really defend. They cannot score. And West Ham, I think, are a perfect team for Manchester United to play, though they are coming off another Europa League match, this time in Turkey, in Istanbul, against Jose Mourinho. So who knows what that sets up Manchester United for. I do think that, of course, West Ham's performances this year have been disastrous, discomforting, scary. Biggest interest there is under 3, though I do lean to the home underdog as well. We'll see what lineups look like on Sunday morning. Moving next to Crystal Palace hosting Tottenham. Currently, Crystal Palace a half a goal underdog at home. All the juice on Tottenham on the road. Over under is 3, and it's just a little bit more to under right now. A lot of juice on Tottenham as the road favorite. Tottenham, to me, they do have their European commitments. Crystal Palace just have not been able to score goals. I feel like Oliver Glasner is kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, trying to replace Mikel Olise with Eddie Nketiah has not really worked out very well because he's more of a striker, not a creator. And that's also put Jean-Philippe Mateta a little bit out on the outskirts and didn't start the past match day on Monday at Nottingham Forest, and they didn't score. I think that's a big concern for me if Crystal Palace aren't going to score, because they're going to have to keep up with Tottenham. Tottenham are playing better. I don't really know that there's a lot for me to do with this one. I like Crystal Palace at home. They've been so good there over the years, but certainly a half a goal underdog probably wouldn't make the card based on the performance this season. So do you believe in history, and do you believe in their big home crowd to kind of push them over the line? And totals, I'm not really playing with Tottenham because I'm an under player, and that doesn't exist for me, or no interest there exists. Moving next, Chelsea hosting Newcastle in a big 10 a.m. Eastern time window on Sunday. Chelsea a 3/4 goal favorite with almost all the juice. Over under is 3.25, juiced all the way to over. Potentially going to see 3.5 in this one. Chelsea with their European commitments as well midweek. I think played Panathinaikos from Greece, but didn't register Cole Palmer for the event. So he's going to be well rested and not playing midweek. Newcastle, to me, though, is the biggest question. I don't really think that they're going to score much on the road. We've seen drastic road splits for them over the past few seasons, even when they were a lot better. I think Chelsea probably win this match, but I think the determination is on a total, especially if it climbs to 3.5. How many can Chelsea get? Because Newcastle are not that likely to cooperate, contribute. I'll lean to under 3.25 in that one. And we'll see if 3.5 hits before game time on Sunday. Last but not least, big matchup on the card. Arsenal hosts Liverpool. Currently, Liverpool a 1/4 goal underdog on the road in London. All the juice on the Liverpool side. Over under is 2.5, just a little bit more to under. Both were victorious in Champions League midweek. Arsenal, to me, I'm not sure that they're that impressive, but they've been getting it done, and they're without William Saliba, who's suspended for his red card, which is a big deal, I think. Liverpool on the other side, they keep, not playing impressive football, but they keep getting results. We'll see if they continue. I'm not sure I'm a full believer in Arne Slot, nor in the respect that Liverpool seem to get from the betting marketplace. But I'll put Liverpool on my list at a 1/4 goal underdog. I also like under 2.5. It's a low total, but these big clubs, teams going for the titles, they seem to play really competitive matches that don't see a lot of goals. Thank you for coming in. By the way, anyone watching live, feel free to throw some comments in. I do have them available and ready. But it's time to pick an ultimate best bet selection as a possibility, at least for that ultimate best bet, but one of the selections from the English Premier League. And I think, there's a lot on this list that big name matchup on Sunday certainly is going to compete against the NFL here in the United States, Arsenal hosting Liverpool. But I think my best bet, my favorite one, is going to be Everton as an under 2.5 in that matchup. Big one on Saturday. Probably a little bit underwhelming for that big slate. I just feel like also Fulham on the road doesn't feel like a really great favorite. So I lean to Everton as a pick 'em at home as well. But I also like the under 2.5, and I'll make that my selection as a potential ultimate best bet coming end of show. 6-2 last 8, hopefully 8-2 based on the continental stuff this week, but we'll haven't watched that yet. So we'll get there. Moving to La Liga in Spain, Espanyol hosts Sevilla on a Friday night match. at 9 p.m. local time in Catalunya. Espanyol, a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice over unders 2.25, juice pretty heavily to under / all the way. We might see this fall to 2. I think you're still probably okay playing under 2, though the push probability is significantly higher. Though I'm certainly trying to do a little bit better in a very highly juiced sport to try to maintain or at least reduce that by playing. Really what I'm trying to do is play the quarter goal underdogs instead of the half of a goal underdogs and potentially only win half your bet if they draw. But a lot of those bets, I'm hoping teams will win anyway. Espanyol, quarter goal underdog at home against the Sevilla side that can't really score. I guess tried their best at Barcelona, but didn't look great and saw a lot of goals go in late. Maybe that helps us with the total here. So I'll go Espanyol at home, quarter goal underdog. I'll lean to under 2.25. Moving to Saturday, Valladolid hosting Real Valladolid, that is hosting Villarreal. Currently Valladolid, a half a goal underdog at home with all the juice over unders 2.75, juice more to the over. Real Valladolid have not been able to keep the ball out of the net in the last few minutes of matches. They seem to lose 2-1 every single matchup. That would only lose you half a bet here, and eventually the defense will improve. I feel like the manager's been trying a lot of different rotation ideas and have been getting better, but huge mistakes from like fill in right backs, for example, last week, put them on a really bad start, but somehow Valladolid stole a win away from home. So all those things are kind of going together in weird directions, and Valladolid will eventually find their level. I'm hoping. I really like maybe the color scheme or the fact that I've made a ton of money on them over the seasons, but they've been a yo-yo club going up to the Primera División, back to Segunda División over and over and over again in Spain. So this is a big matchup for them at home. They need a result here. They're going to be fighting like heck. And Villarreal, to me, have scored a ton of goals this season without much of an offense to do so, or at least they're missing a lot of key players like Gerard Moreno, their striker, who basically was their entire offense for the past few seasons. And then Ayoze Perez, who's actually done really well this season as well. He's been absent for a while too. I'm interested in the home underdog getting a half of a goal, but I think ultimately I'm more interested in the under 2.75 as we move to the next matchup of Rayo Vallecano hosting Alaves. Currently Rayo, a quarter goal favorite at home with more juice, over unders 2, and it is juiced all the way to over. Maybe we see this climb back to 2.25. But Rayo are a good home team. They're going to play defensively. Alaves, I feel like I've been conceding a lot of goals. Took that really tough loss to Valladolid last weekend. Certainly we're not very happy with refereeing decisions, but welcome to La Liga. I think, and honestly, the Champions League with some really bad decisions in Lille and Atleti this week too. Handball completely missed and a penalty kick given to Lille, which changed the trajectory of the game and ended up sending the game over, which was brutal for my bottom line, unfortunately. But Rayo, a quarter goal favorite, deserved. I don't think that's enough, anywhere near enough for me to want to play Alaves, though it certainly makes it look like the La Liga market is expecting a lot from Alaves or little from Rayo Vallecano. Rayo didn't do much offensively. We're really bad at on one set piece, losing basically the target man for Mallorca last weekend. I expect that to get cleaned up. So I think my biggest interest here is under 2. Moving next to Las Palmas hosting Girona. Currently, Las Palmas a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.5. Juice more to the under. Las Palmas already sacked their manager. It wasn't his fault that they had such a long streak of not winning a single match since I think it was February, until they went to Villarreal and had a comeback victory on Monday night. A lot helped by Valencia. It was going down to 10 men, and Valencia are now bottom of La Liga. A lot of pressure on a side that is better than they have been playing, but goals have been problematic, and Las Palmas somehow conceded 2, yet still won the match. I guess that happens when you take a 3-1 lead and you're just trying to defend like heck to run the clock out. But new managers come in. I'm not sure there's a huge difference. Las Palmas are still pretty weak talent-wise compared to the rest of the league. And Girona finally got off the schneid with a 2-0 victory at home against Slovan Bratislava. They put them under a ton of pressure. It probably could have been a bigger goal difference. And Christian Stuani, who had won a match right before the international break with a late penalty, was denied by the Slovan Bratislava keeper in this matchup. With that said, I think Las Palmas is the side I want. They're certainly more rested and at home, and maybe that one victory will set off their confidence level. I just don't believe in Girona as well. I like to be against them, especially coming off Champions League and a competition that they had literally showing their players in the crowd. And there's just such a long list. There's like multiple camera shots. Not everyone and all the players were even sitting together because they had so many injuries on a list of a squad that was picked clean by their big time boss in Manchester City as they're part of the City ownership group. As a road favorite, I want to be against that. I think under 2.5 is my bigger interest there, though. Moving to El Clasico, Real Madrid hosting Barcelona. Currently, Real Madrid a half a goal favorite at home. All the juice in Barca away from home. Over under 3.25. Juice all the way to over. I think that reflects Hansi Flick and his high line. This is a dangerous game, to say the least, between Real Madrid and Barcelona, based on how Barca is set up defensively. And Real Madrid got to play a day earlier in Champions League, had a huge from 2-0 down at halftime, winning 5-2. Incredible, but you could probably point to Borussia Dortmund and their collapse, who we'll get to later in the show on the Bundesliga portion. But there's probably a lot of goals in this matchup, which makes the Barcelona getting half of a goal less impressive, though I feel like they've looked more impressive of these two sides this season so far. I actually think I lean over 3.25 just because I think there's a good chance we see a lot of goals here. Should be a big one in the Spanish capital of Madrid. Moving to Sunday, another reference to the best day of the year, October 27th. Like Leganés, they host Celta de Vigo, coming off their own capitulation late at Atletico Madrid. Leganés, a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.25, juice really heavily to under. Celta have looked really good. I thought the ESPN crew was right, saying that they deserved a lot more against Real Madrid at home last weekend, but didn't get it. Iago Aspas should be back after a red card suspension, so that's good. And Leganés, they're going to do their best to try to score or find a single goal. They were able to take a lead on Atletico Madrid, but couldn't hold on, capitulated multiple times late. I feel that Leganés, as one of the newly promoteds, they're going to have a lot of trouble staying up this year. As a home underdog, they are of interest to me, though, and I lean to under 2.25 as well. Celta de Vigo haven't been scoring as much lately, though they should get some firepower back. Moving to next matchup, we have Getafe hosting Valencia. Currently, Getafe a quarter goal favorite at home with almost all the juice over. There's 1.75. We finally have another match under 2 as a total, and it should be a little bit more juice to over. But I'll be waiting to see this number hit 2. Don't have that yet. Getafe are not a goal-scoring team, but Valencia is not a team I want to back right now. So not a lot for me to do on this one. Move next to Real Betis hosting Atletico Madrid. Currently Betis a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over unders 2.25. Juice really heavily to under. Atleti, I mean, what a disastrous performance really against their last 2 matchups. Somehow they stole a win from Leganés at home, but then lost on a ridiculous penalty that should not have been given, should have been nullified for a handball. Just ridiculous. They let that stand. And it was Italian refs too, which are generally a lot better than the Spanish ones, to say the least. But Real Betis, they somehow found a win. They still are just trying to steal goals at this point with no real striker, and really feels like all their goals are lucky. With that said, it makes a Benito Villamarin crowd really responsible for a quarter goal underdog if that somehow made the card. So I think I'm probably more interested in under 2.25. Though there's a lot of questions for me about who's going to score goals in this matchup. Atletico Madrid, I'm sure they just don't want to even see an Alexander Soloth one-on-one with the keeper and see him miss the net yet again. Last but not least, on Sunday, Real Sociedad hosting Osasuna, coming off their Europa League play midweek. Sociedad, a half a goal favorite with all the juice at home. Over unders 2.25, just pretty heavily to under. You can call this a Basque derby, not certainly the biggest one, not El Gran Derby or anything that. El Derby Vasco is, I guess, the more correct term for Real Sociedad against Athletic Club. But Osasuna, they have been pretty different away from home versus at home. I would imagine that those revert to the mean because Osasuna was great at home in the past, but also great on the road in the past with home issues. So I just don't see a lot of goals from Osasuna. I don't really like their new manager. I think the drop off from Arrasate, who moved to Mallorca, to Osasuna is replacement is significant. I just don't expect Real Sociedad to score many goals. So I'll go under 2.25 in that one, more so than leaning to Osasuna away from home. And last but not least, we go to Monday. Mallorca hosts Athletic Club Bilbao. Mallorca are currently a pick'em. All the juice on Athletic Club away from home. Over under is 2, and it's juice more to the over. Any number that any time that Mallorca at home as a home underdog, I'm interested. Also, if they have an under 2, I'm interested. So lean that way for both of them, and we'll certainly be looking to play that one. For my best bet in Spain on this, I guess, week, whatever, Jonata 9, 10, 11, something like that card, I'll go with, actually, it's going to be music to Joe Dollar's ears. I'll go over 3.25 Real Madrid at Barcelona, Real Madrid hosting Barcelona, excuse me. It just feels like there's going to be a lot of goals in that matchup, and I guess that's what I'll put on my list. We'll move next to Italy, which we've already missed one matchup, but thank you all for tuning in. This is a Friday episode, and we do have another one starting late. Torino hosting Como. Currently, Torino a pick-em right now with all the juice. Over-under is 2.25, juice more to under. I want to say there's midweek matches in Italy next week, but don't quote me on that one. I probably could find it. It should be in my notes. A lot of preparation going to these podcasts. Yes, I do think we have a midweek match. I guess Serie deciding to try to catch up to the rest of the leagues, though La Liga did that in Spain to start the year with 2 matches every week, it felt like. But anyway, so Torino, a pick 'em, all the juice, over under is 2.25, juice more to the under. Como have looked okay as a newly promoted. I know they spent a lot of money in their squad, but they haven't looked that great. Torino have been really problematic. Ivan Juric, their previous manager, had moved on and now was previously unattached, but now is coaching Roma and not doing too much with them. But I don't know what to do with this one. Torino have been conceding a ton of goals. Como, not an underdog, away from home, and a lot of the Serie A market was against Torino last week, despite they did fall behind, but took a 2-1 lead and then lost on conceded an equalizer, but we're still in a position to cover, and then had an own goal late. Unfortunate, unlucky one, just ricochet. I feel like I'm still watching to see playing against Torino. I mean, Duvan Zapata's hurt, and they held up his jersey, so it must be a serious long-term injury after one of their goals. I think their first one on Sunday. So a lot of things to look toward. I think the Como side, but until I get a quarter goal underdog, I don't want to play a road promoted side pick 'em at this point. And I don't know that I want much to do with under 2.25 either. I think both these teams are going to try to score goals. We'll next move to Saturday. We have Napoli hosting Lecce. Currently, Napoli a 1.5 goal favorite. Choose to split both ways. Over under is 2.75, and it's used pretty heavily to under here. Lecce have not done anything offensively, so that does make the total look a little bit more interesting, especially for a pretty defensive Antonio Conte setup, especially very deep in their half, try to play counterattacking football. I don't know that I want to trust a Lecce defense, especially after they conceded 6 goals, but maybe that's the best time to do it. So I'll put that on my list, under 2.75. Don't want much to do with the side, which does lower my interest in under. Moving to the nightcap, Atalanta hosts Verona. Currently, Atalanta a 1.25 goal favorite with all the juice. Over under is 3, juice all the way to over. And it looks like Atalanta, I mean, they were fairly disappointing, I think, in midweek in Champions League. Didn't get a victory at home to Celtic, but get a really nice chance to have Verona come in after conceding 3 goals to a Monza team that weren't scoring at all. And Verona definitely are not a team I want to back right now. Away from home, don't really think I want much to do with the total. So I think that's another one I can skip. And I feel like Bologna were supposed to play between these 2 matches. I don't know if they took the match, if they postponed the match. Probably because Bologna played away from home midweek in Champions League. Maybe that played into it. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens there. But no line to discuss. So I'll move on to next. Parma hosting Empoli. Currently Parma a quarter goal favorite at home with more juice. Over unders 2.5, juice more to the under. Now this is an interesting one for me because Parma have been really good at home. New promoted side, started off with the big Giants coming in and they got a bunch of results, but I feel like that talent ability has been waning. Empoli, I think, against expectations, they've been awesome defensively and really talented despite basically recreating their team every season with loanees. I like Empoli getting that quarter of a goal. I think I'm more interested in under 2.5, though Parma are not a underside really to speak of. I think if you're backing Empoli and playing under, you're certainly expecting that Empoli will dictate tempo. It's hard to do away from home, but I think they're going to go and try to keep Parma from getting Parma's going to play forward on the front foot. So that does put up a lot of things that are question marks there. I just don't really want much to do with Parma at this point, especially as a home favorite. So put Empoli get quarter of a goal and under 2.5, both on my list, though certainly will hinge on whether you believe in Empoli or not. Lazio then hosts Genoa. Currently Lazio a 1-goal favorite at home with more juice. Over unders 2.5, juice all the way to over. Lazio playing midweek on the road, moved to an underdog, but kind of played their weaker players. So I think they're a very deep squad with a lot of talent. Genoa on the other side were unfortunate to, I guess, take a draw in their last matchup, though maybe they were happy about it because they've not been playing well so far this season. I don't know that I want much to do with them. Like maybe they take advantage of Lazio having to travel, but they basically started a lot of backups. So it should be a pretty strong Lazio side. Just betting against Genoa's goal scoring, I put under 2.5 on my list. I just don't know that I want much to do with it. Moving next to Monza hosting Venezia. Currently Monza, a quarter goal favorite with all the juice. Over unders 2.25, juice all the way to under. I don't see a lot of goals. Monza scored a bunch, but a lot were route one long balls from the goalkeeper, at least 2 or 3 on Monday. Venezia with a little bit more time to rest, got to play. And I think a 2-goal loss on the road at Atalanta was problematic, of course, from not scoring as well. But I don't think we see a lot of goals in this matchup. So I'm interested in Venezia under 2.25, probably more so than the side. Next to the big one, Inter Milan hosting Juventus. Currently Inter, a 3-quarter goal favorite. All the juice on Juve on the road. Over unders 2.25, juice more to under. Juve, I mean, pretty disappointing Champions League effort, pretty disappointing offense entire season. It's going back what feels like years. Inter have not looked great, but got a big victory on the road at Roma last weekend, 1-0. It wasn't a big scoreline, but big for trying to get back into the Champions League, the Scudetto run, because they have not gotten off to as great of a start, I think, as we would have expected from Inter. But Juve are going to keep this a low-scoring game. I think getting half of a push on a one single goal loss on Juve is of big interest to me. And I got to say, Inter just haven't looked that great offensively, though Lautaro Martinez, as soon as he starts firing, he did score against Roma. Big concern if that continues, but still interested in Juve getting 3/4 of a goal and also to under 2.25. I feel like these sides are a lot more similar than this number suggests. A lot of juice, of course, in the Juve side, as I wear as a previous girlfriend once called this a knockoff Juve kit. It's Sport Club Freiburg. Get your teams right, but I guess they do look similar. Last but not least, Fiorentina hosts Roma. Currently a pick'em, but Fiorentina with all the juice. Over unders 2.5. She's really heavily to under. I'm not a believer in Fiorentina's goal scoring. I'm gonna have to wait for Roma to move to a quarter goal underdog though, because I don't really want to play them at a pick'em. I don't really dislike or want to be against Fiorentina that much or that badly or that desperately. Lean to under 2.5 though in that matchup, as I think we see a low scoring matchup, as that's all Roma has really delivered under Ivan Juric so far, and that's always been my read on him as well. For my best bet in Italy, I'm gonna go with that Juventus under 2.25 goals. I think it's going to be really hard to see any sort of goal scoring action in a battle, the biggest derby in Italy, most likely. We'll move now to French League. Reminder, all lines are quoted courtesy of BetOnline, SportsBetting.ag. Their sister sites. There are links in the podcast descriptions on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube if you want to go make a first-time deposit. If you have an account at one site, you can certainly join for the other. They've paid me out first-time depositor type of bonuses, and certainly worth checking out. Follow the links on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube in the podcast descriptions, and let me know you did it so I can make sure that you get what you're looking for and that they pay you out the way they should. Moving to France, we have a Friday match with Rennes hosting Le Havre. Currently, Rennes, 1.25 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Le Havre away from home. Over under is 2.5. Juice more to the over. Le Havre look like they are going down to Ligue 2. It's been a nice stay for them in Ligue 1, but they cannot score goals, and their defense has not looked as good this season. They are going on the road to a Rennes side that are overvalued. I think the 1.25 is probably too big. So lean to Le Havre, getting that 1.25, and also to under 2.5. I just don't know that I want much to do with it, because I feel like Le Havre haven't defended well, and once they concede that first goal, Rennes are more than likely with a bunch more talent to score more. Though they're certainly a team I want to play against this season. Angers hosts Saint Etienne, early matchup on Saturday. Angers, a surprising favorite to me. Pick them, but all the juice right now, looking like we might see a quarter goal favorite. Saint Etienne really had some struggles with a really bad second goal conceded as a 1-goal underdog, unfortunately, away from home last weekend against Lens, or it might have been at home, I think, actually, against Lens, but ended up splitting the bet on that one with an under hitting and the side not, unfortunately. But looking forward to Saint Etienne moving to a quarter goal underdog. Don't know that that'll happen. Angers seem to score penalties. I think they've had 3 already this season. I wouldn't expect those to continue. So certainly looking at under 2.25, which looks like it might hit 2.5, and certainly waiting for Saint Etienne to move to an underdog. Move next to Reims hosting Stade Brestois, coming off a really important and great performance, equalizing. Leverkusen holding on for a point. Stade de Reims, they are a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over unders 2.5, juice all the way to over. This is where we start questioning the Brest legs and seeing what they can do defensively, especially away from home against a team like Reims that are able to score. I think that the price is probably too low for me right now in Sabre Stois, only getting a quarter of a goal, but I do like them as an underdog because I think they've been playing really well and lean to under 2.5, especially as this climbs to 2.75. So I feel like that might be the spot to attack. To the nightcap Saturday, we have Lens hosting Lille. Currently, Lens a quarter goal favorite. All the juice on Lille after another big Spanish upset, this time in the Spanish capital. Doing the Madrid double, beating Real Madrid at home and then Atleti away from home, despite starting not their best. So Lille in really good position. Over under here is 2.5, juice really heavily to under. And of course, all the juice on Lille as a quarter goal underdog. But we got to keep in mind that Lille are going into a really tough environment in Lens. Lens have been known for great defense. They've got a more offensive attacking manager. We'll see how that ends up working itself out. I think my biggest interest, though, is still on Lille. They've been playing really well. Hard to want to go away from them as they just keep covering, winning, or keeping clean sheets away from home, all three in their last three in some form or fashion. Moving to Sunday, we have Lyon hosting Angers. Currently, Lyon a 1.25 goal favorite. All the juice almost on Angers away from over is 3.25, just a little bit more to under. Angers are an over team to me. They've come up from the Segunda Division, that's Spain, from Ligue 2 and this season and have scored a ton. The big question is their defense, and that's problematic on the road at Lyon. I do think I'm interested just after Lyon played a home match with Başakşehir, I want to say, in Besiktas, maybe from Turkey or Turkish Super League. Certainly the rest advantage will be on the Angers side. Lyon, I guess we'll level that out a little bit, playing Thursday, Sunday, both in the same home stadium. But I think Angers is the side I want there. I don't think I want much to do with a total even above 3. Montpellier then hosts Toulouse. Currently, Montpellier a quarter goal underdog at home. More juice on Toulouse away from over under is 2.75. Just a little bit more to under. Toulouse look good. They score goals. I feel like I'm actually interested in over here. Take that to $1, 2 in one episode. But Montpellier, I feel like we've seen a lot of goals in their games, usually ones they're conceding. I don't think I want much to do with backing them as a home underdog, even though that's usually my bread and butter. Moving next to Nice hosting Monaco, a nice little Côte d'Azur derby. Wish I'd been there when there was a match being played, because I did go by the Nice, I guess, stop on the train when I was going to Monaco. But Nice, a quarter goal underdog, juice split both ways. Over under is 2.75, juice really heavily to under. It's surprising to see a Monaco match with a low total like this, especially after they scored a bunch against Crvena Zvezda or Red Star Belgrade midweek. I'm just not really a believer they're going to continue to do that. Montpellier, quarter goal underdog, I'm interested in. I like the I don't know. I mean, I do like, went back a match. I think Nice, a quarter goal underdog at home. Yes, Monaco have been winning a ton of matches, but it's felt pretty fortunate. They weren't really that dominant against Red Star Belgrade either. So I'm pretty interested in the Nice home underdog, maybe more than the total, though I do think that a home bet certainly will reflect, and you want to probably play under there as well. Just betting against Monaco's offense would probably be the bets for both of those. Next in the same window, Strasbourg hosting Nantes. Currently Strasbourg, a half a goal favorite with almost all the juice. Over unders 2.5 with almost all the juice, heading towards 2.75. Nantes have looked really good to me. They've been a great defensive side. Strasbourg have been scoring a lot of goals, but conceding a lot. I think Nantes getting a half of a goal is probably more interesting to me, though I do like 2.5 and then under potentially 2.75. So if it lands 3, you get a partial push. Nantes have looked really good. I love Antoine Comboiré, and I think that this will be a tough matchup for Strasbourg. Last but not least, Marseille hosts PSG in Le Classique. Marseille, a half a goal underdog at home with almost all the juice. Over under is 3 with almost all the juice to over. PSG been scoring, but not really defending much. We're pretty disappointing in their midweek match. I think Marseille is definitely the side I want at home. They've got plenty of problems and have not really lived up to the billing over the years, but not qualifying for Europe puts them in a much better rest advantage. Lean to that under 3, which will potentially hit 3.25. That's really tough to do with PSG, so I'll probably leave that one off the card. But Olympique Marseille, a half a goal underdog, definitely is of interest to me, and is probably something I'll look into a lot deeper. For my best bet from this episode, I think that might be it. I'll go Marseille a half a goal underdog is that's a big time tough spot for PSG coming off Champions League. Last but not least, we'll get to the German Bundesliga. And if you are a props player, DFS player, I'm going to try to get out an NFL props little 1 minute video on Instagram and on YouTube at the @real_G Warner on both those platforms, maybe even TikTok if they'll unblock me, or maybe I find a new way to do this. But trying to do a little bit more in that type of space. We have a sleeper code within the podcast description, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and on YouTube. And we'll be adding one to my Instagram sooner rather than later, or putting it on a link tree or whatever, an upgraded link tree that's better than the past. If you are a player there, go make a first-time deposit. I think they'll match your full $100. And there seems to be some great discounts and freebies that are out there, like put a $20 play in there. Of course, it's not the same. You might be wagering on other sporting events, but you can juice it up and make it a big return, and then it goes back into your account if you lose. It happened with me in the Texans and Packers game last weekend that I thought might be high scoring, but certainly didn't see the pass yards from either of the quarterbacks, unfortunately. But money was returned to my account, and that helped. So go follow the link in the podcast descriptions and go sign up for Sleeper. We'll move now to German Bundesliga, as I'm wearing a kit of one of the clubs. We'll get to that in the second match on our list. On Friday, we have Mainz 05 hosting Borussia Mönchengladbach. Currently, Mainz a quarter goal favorite at home with more juice. Over-under is 3, juiced more to the over. Borussia Mönchengladbach just haven't been away from home anything sort of. They've been a sieve. They've been horrible. They can't win matches. They can't defend really. And as an under player and an underdog player, there's not much for me to do on Friday. So I will move to Saturday. We'll start with Sport Club Freiburg as I wear the kit. If you're watching live on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, it's Betting the Pitch. On YouTube at the @real_G Warner, also Instagram there too. RB Leipzig, a 3/4 goal favorite right now at home with more juice. Over under is 2 3/4. She's almost all the way to over. Freiburg have been a great story so far, replacing their manager of the season. I'm not sure I believe in the goals that they've been scoring, a lot of late ones, a lot of fortunate ones, it feels like. But they are a live underdog here, especially after seeing Xavi Simons limping off for Leipzig later in their match midweek against Liverpool. Leipzig have not been conceding any goals, but got shut out at home by Liverpool. Had a couple good chances, but we're really struggling with the offside line. And I got to say, Freiburg, I think we saw them basically suffer through Christian Streich last season on the side touch lines with no real center backs to use. They're in much better shape this year, and I think I'm very interested in seeing what they could potentially do. I lean to the 3/4 of goal. I like the under 2 3/4. We'll certainly be looking for a push on 3, so I have a big interest in that matchup. VfB Stuttgart then hosts Holstein Kiel, coming off a victory on the road at Juventus. Incredible. Stuttgart a 2-goal favorite with all the juice on Kiel. Over under is 3 3/4. She's pretty heavily to under. Stuttgart have been, I think, really good, really dominant. Holstein Kiel, I don't trust at all. The only thing I can look for is under 3 3/4, potentially as a nice Champions League hangover, potentially. Would love to see a push on 4. I don't think we're going to see that based on the juice currently. But Holstein Kiel, they're trying to figure out how to defend, and I just don't see them scoring much. And unfortunately, that could mean a lopsided route then leads to no defense being played on either side. So we'll see what happens there. Just probably need a really good start from Holstein Kiel to make it under even realistic. Moving next to Augsburg, hosting Borussia Dortmund. Augsburg, a half a goal underdog, juice is split both ways. Over under is 3, just all the way to over. Not really sure what Dortmund, who are very weak mentally, and how they respond to conceding 5 after taking a 2-0 lead in a revenge game on the road at the Bernabeu against Real Madrid, trying to avenge what I thought was a better Champions League performance from the Germans that didn't end up in a victory, didn't even end up in a cover. And same sort of story for both the under and the side at the Bernabeu on Tuesday. Augsburg have not looked good. They've been conceding a ton of goals. I mean, I don't know where to go with this one. I think over 3, another Joe Dollar special, is very interesting. Man, I'm not an over player, but if there's ever a time to see goals, Augsburg have been shipping them. Borussia Dortmund have been doing the same. And man, 3 feels like a pretty low total unless we see some big rotation. But Dortmund are very, very deep. And Augsburg, I mean, yeah, their high press, it was very successful last season. Or just Thorup, their new manager, came in after the start of the season last year, 7 or 8 match days in. It feels like it's been figured out, though, especially by now, unfortunately for Augsburg, who spent a lot of money this offseason. St. Pauli then hosts Wolfsburg to close that big window of early 3:30 local time in Germany. matches, and San Pauli a pick 'em right now with almost all the juice. Over under is 2 3/4, juice all the way to under. Not expecting a lot of goals. Wolfsburg with an incredible capitulation last weekend. Maximilian Arnold left injured, and maybe that was a big deal in their defense, but Sally Ocean should have been able to figure that out. I think Wolfsburg is the side I want here. St. Pauli have been good, but goal scoring has been an issue for them, which I guess also points to under. I think Wolfsburg, they're a work in progress. I think they're improving. They've been certainly very efficient in their goals so far this year. Don't really want to play a pick 'em, so I'll put under 2 3/4 on my list for that matchup. As we go to the top spiel, Werder Bremen hosting Bayer Leverkusen. Werder Bremen, a 1 1/4 goal underdog at home with more juice. Over under is 3.5, juice more to the under. This is going to be two teams going in different directions. Leverkusen trying to score a ton of goals, Werder Bremen trying to restrict. Werder Bremen didn't look great last week and then equalized, took a lead and scored a bunch. Werder Bremen had some big absences, have been missing 2 of their 3 starting center backs for a lot of this season. We'll see what they look like in terms of the lineup. I'm still looking to bet against Bayer Leverkusen. It's been very profitable lately, and I think deserved, though they've certainly controlled matches. They don't look anything close to what they were last season. And I don't think it's just adding Champions League. I think it might be the good fortune of last year wearing off. So lean to the home underdog and lean to under 3.5. It's hard to want to play an under with Leverkusen, but away from home, off of Champions League midweek, they did rotate for that pretty significantly, but I do think there's some value there. Moving to Sunday, VfL Bochum, a 2 1/4 goal underdog at home with all the juice on Bayern Munich away from home, coming off a trip to Barcelona midweek. Over under is 4, just a little bit more to under. Bochum, I mean, they've been great at home. They've won this match in recent years, but man, they are tough to back. I don't think I want anything to do with fading Bayern Munich against a team that looks like they're headed down to the Liga. Moving next to Union Berlin hosting Eintracht Frankfurt. Union, a pick 'em with all the juice. Over under is 2.5, juice more. Actually, juice split both ways in that one. Not really sure where that total will go. Union, an under team. Eintracht Frankfurt, an over team. We'll see how that kind of matches up. But Union, I like as a home pick 'em, especially not playing midweek, whereas Eintracht Frankfurt were a home Europa League contender. I think under is probably my interest there too. Also backing Eisern Union, and I gotta say, I would like to be against Frankfurt, as I think their defense is lacking. I think Union can exploit that, especially with a more rested side. Moving to that last matchup on Sunday before we get to the ultimate best bet. Thanks for hanging on for 46 minutes. Heidenheim, a quarter goal favorite at home. Almost all the juice on Hoffenheim away from home. Over under is 3, just pretty heavily to over. We saw a lot of rotation in the Hoffenheim backline. I'm not sure what that'll look like for this Spieltag. But Heidenheim, they played in Conference League as well. I think that's going to really start to zap their limited resources and limited depth. It's probably not as bad of a competition because they can rotate in it, but they don't have that many bodies to do so. For that reason, I'm still pretty interested in Hoffenheim, a quarter goal underdog, because we know they can score. With that said, the total is interesting. Getting a full 3 looks like it might climb to 3 1/4. These are not offensive sides, but both are trying to kind of balance Conference League and Europa League. I guess it'd be continental play is probably the easier way to describe that. And I think we're going to see some problems for those clubs in trying to put this all together in the right fashion. For my biggest interest on this German Bundesliga card, before we get to the ultimate best bet, man, there's a lot of good choices here. I feel like Union is a big interest for me at home as a pick 'em. Though I want to make sure anyone who sees this will get that. I mean, they're probably, it's been hanging that way pretty much this week. So I'll put Union Berlin, a pick 'em, as my best bet in the German Bundesliga, which now brings us to the ultimate best bet portion of the show. Time to get in and make sure that you have something to grade me upon for this match day, whatever, because there's so many different ones. Jornata, Spieltag, match day, and there, of course, none of them are aligned based on whether you are playing Copa del Rey, Super Copas, or whatever for the blood money in Saudi Arabia, or whatever you're doing. But things change, of course, in all the different leagues. So I wouldn't want anyone to have to stick and stay up to that. As for what's on our podcast, so recorded a best bets with Munaf Manji for pregame Major League Baseball last night. Also got the NFL podcast out with _Schnicker that we do every Tuesday night, which we try to handicap the biggest games, standalones, of course, and then the ones of our choice, plus where we expect lines to move. All that sort of stuff I think will be worth tuning into. Pregame podcast out with for college football with Big East Ben, also out there. So go check the various areas if you want to catch more of my content. If you want more of it directly, go to patreon.com/thereal_G Warner, best bot for all my leans, write-ups, everything. And you get that ahead of games, unlike Twitter at @thereal_G Warner, which I'm pretty much posting everything as the game begins, working up to it, of course, but also want to make sure that Patreon subscribers are getting what they should be, which is my plays, leans, write-ups, everything ahead of time. So go check that out. It's time for the ultimate best bet, so let's get into it. Hey, this is @thereal_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet for the European soccer weekend, October 25th to 28th. We are 6-2 last 8 in our best bets, trying to keep that run going. And make sure you go check for Betting the Pitch on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, and at @thereal_G Warner on Instagram and on YouTube for these 1-minute shorts. From the English Premier League, my best bet is Everton under 2.5 goals. In La Liga in Spain, in El Clasico, like Barcelona over 3.25. In Serie A in Italy, like Juventus under 2.25 goals. In Ligue 1 in France, like Marseille, a half a goal underdog to PSG. And in the Bundesliga, I like Union Berlin, a pick'em at home to Eintracht Frankfurt. But it's time for the ultimate best bet. We're 6-2 last 8. Trying to keep that streak going and keep it alive. I'll stay in a big matchup, a little bit different than my normal style, but Barcelona over 3.25 goals on the road at Real Madrid. See a lot of goals in El Clasico. I see a really high line from Barcelona, and we'll see how Real Madrid picks it apart. That'll do it for this episode of Major League. Just kidding, not Major League Baseball. We've got that out with Munaf Manji through pregame. Caught myself there. This is the best bet portion. That's done. Ultimate best bet is going to be signed, sealed, delivered. And that was the European soccer edition of Betting the Pitch. So we'll talk to you all next week as we prepare for midweek matches, NFL, and hope everyone has a very profitable weekend. And make sure you send me a happy birthday gift for October 27th. It's coming soon, so it better come quickly.
Recording stopped.